Hello, everyone. I cannot believe it is the middle of 2024. Eek. Well, we're so proud of the things that we've accomplished at Pepelwerk, and I hope you are too. This is our third Vodcast episode. And since we're getting better feedback about just the content in general, and that's exciting. So that must mean it's helpful or useful. I do want to ask one thing of you viewers. Please do not always sidebar your comments because it doesn't really help what Pepelwerk is striving to do. We do want to help you, don't get me wrong. If you've downloaded your app, or if you're a customer, if you're an organization who's a customer in our work hub, there's your different tools in there to direct one-on-one questions. And if you are a viewer who's like on the fence about what becoming a member of Pepelwerk for the individuals with the app or an organization, and you're watching this content and you have a question, put it in the chat, because the more you engage with our content, the more it helps us get exposure to other people who would benefit from this content. And then you also can help each other as a community, because Pepelwerk doesn't have all the answers. We're here to provide you really unbiased information about the things that can help, hurt, harm, block, support you achieving your work, earn, learn, and connecting goals for the future. So today's conversation is all about assessments. It's actually an interesting, hot issue because people are so afraid of assessments. If you've ever taken an assessment, put it in the chat, say yes, and then tell me what you were assessed on, your skills, your personality, whatever it was, let me know. And if you thought it was a reasonable assessment for the opportunity that you were applying for, or the whatever the work connection was. To be fair, when I was in industry, when I was an HR leader, I had assessments, and I thought, most of them are weird, and I don't even know if the people that I am currently working with could pass those assessments. I don't know. That's probably a good measure of whether or not an assessment is good, is if you were going to do all of them, or even that's even a better question. Like, if you were to put your own CEO through your own hiring process, would they be hired? That's always a good question. All right. The assessment conversation that's happening online is that people are either frustrated or afraid about doing an assessment because of what it reveals about them, and they're not necessarily comfortable with that. I think that's more of a trust thing than it is whether assessments are a useful tool or not. Let's see what's going on with assessments. Culture of showing why pre-employment assessments suck. Oh, wow. Eek. So this particular journalist has written content that is basically saying that you could be using it. Companies could be using pre-employment assessments and people are just opting out of the process. Well, okay, that makes sense. But I think people, I'm sorry, it took me a minute to get caught up with the trending news around, are assessments good, assessments in the job process. I understand the conversation. Like, people do drop out because of what I just said, exposure. So our process is a little different in Pepelwerk because you get to take your assessment and it's your personal information. That assessment applies for all of our companies, and all that just creates consistencies. It creates more equitable opportunities and choice for the company. It's just a win-win when you do that with assessments. But keeping them private and then choosing what it is that you want to share. Hey, it's your choice about what you want to share. I will tell you that obviously if you don't share a lot, companies might pass on you. I mean, that's just the way it is. They kind of want to know, right? They're giving you money, right? You're giving time and skills and effort, and they're giving you money. So of course, there's going to be some scrutiny in who they're giving their money to and who they're investing in, because it's not just about a transaction. I think sometimes people get lost in the whole job conversation, like, hey, I just need income. Well, it's not just a transaction unless you're on like a Uber app or something. That's totally transaction income. Let's see, artificial intelligence in assessments. Of course, I have a strong opinion of this. Let's see what is going on with people's opinions of using AI. Um, so this particular article, I don't know if they actually, I'm not sure if I dig what they're saying. They're trying to use AI in the wrong context. It's not AI unless there is a sophisticated iterative bit of data that creates these recommendations. So just taking an assessment is not AI, or using an assessment independently is not AI. And that came from Career Builder. And let's see who owns Career Builder. If you've watched the other content that we've had, you just have to be aware of who owns what in the job space, and to understand why they're saying the things that they're saying. What's the motivation? You always got to check motivation. Apollo Global Management is the one that owns Career Builder. Yeah, it's yeah. Okay. So Career Builder's point of view, I think the article was poorly written because it's not really AI. It's just a question of assessments. They were kind of using it as clickbait, clearly, because AI is such a hot conversation. So let's stay focused on the topic about the way that people feel. People don't want to, in general, they do not want to expose things that make them vulnerable. That's just not a good feeling. So I think back to what I said earlier, we're really talking about a trust issue. So assessments are a tool to understand where you're at in a particular skills proficiency, what your personality the way that your personality operates. Like for me, administrative repetitive work would be a struggle for me. It doesn't work with my natural attributes, but somebody else might find that kind of stuff like peaceful and serene. And so it's not about whether or not I can do a job, it's whether or not I should do a job. And assessments really should be used in that light, as long as they're used consistently. I think socially there's a problem because dealer's choice, you go for 15 applications, they all have the same job, different managers, so they all choose different assessments. Which makes one better than the other for skills? I don't know. But what makes one attribute be valued a different way? Well, that's because of the managers, right? So the assessments are not a bad thing. I think assessments are very good tools for both sides of the job equation, the company offering the job and the person needing the work. I do think people need to be selective about the kind of assessments that they are going to opt into participating in, and know that you have a right to your data. So if you take an assessment in some sort of application process that's outside of people work, then you have the right to ask for the results of that data. And companies, if you're not being consistent, that's going to be a challenge for you, because part of what makes finding the unknown awesome unicorn, like we do at People Work for our corporate customers, is just that. We make things super consistent. So I can't really address the trust issue, because you can't really trust. You got to know people before you can trust them. And application process has nothing to do with trust. So I guess I get it. So at the end of today's conversation, I can see I can see why people feel so exhausted about them, because of the big broader market challenge that we have. But obviously with People Work, we are trying to solve it. So don't be afraid of taking the assessments. Just think about the assessments. Can't solve the trust problem. And yes, I would encourage companies to find a more universal, consistent methodology if they're going to partake in assessments like what we do at People Work, and then a few other really good job marketplaces that are out there. So thanks for joining us today. If you have any questions, now would be the time to put them into chat, share, follow what we're saying, and let us know other topics that you would like us to talk about, because we're always here to help people evolve with work.